Welcome to this deep dive. We've got some really cool research to dig into today about frost prevention. You sent in a Science Advances article, and it's about this new method that claims to be a total game changer.
Yeah,
Like, imagine this frost prevention for up to a week.
it is a fascinating concept.
All right.
Most solutions out there just delay frost for like a few hours at most.
Right.
This one aims to actually control where and when it forms for much longer.
Okay, so right now we deal with frost on everything.
Yeah,
Power lines, windshields, even airplane wings.
exactly.
This research is tackling a seriously widespread problem.
hmm
So what is the secret sauce here?
Well, it's a pretty clever combination, actually. The researchers use surface texture, so think kind of like microscopic peaks and valleys,
Okay.
and they coat these valleys with a material called graphene oxide, or GO for short.
Okay.
It's all about creating like these specific zones where frost will form and others where it can't.
Oh, so they're making like little frost magnets on purpose.
Yeah, you can think of it that way.
I am intrigued. Tell me more about how that works.
Okay, so essentially the peaks on that textured surface become like these sacrificial frost zones.
Okay.
So water vapor is naturally drawn to those peaks because of how it spreads out or diffuses.
Okay.
The frost forms there first, leaving the geo-coated valleys untouched.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the Jugo does something special to keep those valleys frost-free, right?
That's right.
What's so great about graphene oxide?
Graco is incredible stuff. It's super strong, and it has this amazing ability to absorb water.
Uh-huh.
Think of it like a super sponge.
Okay.
In this case, it acts as a humidity sink, so it's pulling moisture away from those valleys and preventing it from freezing there.
So it's like they're setting a trap for the frost and then using the Joigo to keep the important areas dry.
Exactly.
Pretty clever, but did it actually work like a whole week? Seems like a long shot.
Yeah, well, the results are pretty impressive.
Okay.
The researchers were able to keep surfaces completely frost-free for over 150 hours,
Wow.
which is almost a week.
That is a long time.
Yeah, compared to, minutes or a few hours with existing methods.
Yeah.
It's a huge improvement.
That's amazing. And to think this is just one study.
Right.
Imagine where this research could lead.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking about like how this could change things for, say, solar panels or wind turbines.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Keeping those systems frost-free could really boost their efficiency, especially in colder climates.
Yeah.
And there are so many other applications to consider.
It's mind-blowing to think that something as simple as, manipulating surface texture and using a special material could have such a big impact.
Right.
But how practical is all of this? Is Geo durable enough for real-world use?
That's a great question. And one the researchers definitely considered.
Yeah.
They actually tested the Geo's resilience by like scratching it, cracking it, and even deliberately contaminating it.
Contaminating it.
Yeah.
That sounds like a pretty tough test.
It was.
Did it hold up?
It did. Even with the damaging contaminants, the geocoatings still prevented frost formation.
Wow.
They even took microscopic images called SIM images to actually see the go-go structure.
Mm-hmm.
It's made of these tough layered nanosheets. So it's really built to withstand a lot.
So this isn't just some delicate lab experiment.
Right.
Jogo seems like it could actually hold its own out in the real world.
Yeah.
Okay, color me impressed.
Well, there's even more to this story.
Okay.
Beyond just being durable, Jogo seems to have a special trick up its sleeve when it comes to interacting with water molecules.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were saying that Jogo has another trick when it comes to water.
Yeah, it turns out that Jogo doesn't just absorb water. It seems to actually suppress its freezing point.
Okay, now that is fascinating.
Yeah.
So how does it stop water from freezing? Does it like hold it in a special way or?
Think of it this way. Jogo's structure has all these incredibly tiny spaces within it,
Uh-huh.
almost like a sponge at the nanoscale.
Okay.
And when water gets trapped in those spaces, it acts differently.
So it's trapped in these tiny pockets, but how does that stop it from freezing? Does it change the temperature or something?
Well, it's not about changing the temperature exactly.
Okay.
It's more about how the water behaves in these super small spaces.
Okay.
Researchers call it nano-confinement.
Nano confinement.
Yeah, and basically it means that when water is confined in these tiny little spaces, its freezing point actually gets lowered.
So it's like the Colcogo is tricking the water molecules into thinking it's not cold enough to freeze.
That's a great way to put it.
Is that right?
Yeah, the research showed that even in conditions where you'd normally expect ice to form, the Colgo surface remained frost-free.
Interesting.
So it's a completely different mechanism than just absorbing moisture.
That's remarkable. So LIGO is like controlling frost formation on this macro level with those surface textures you talked about.
Right.
But then it's also manipulating the water at the molecular level.
Exactly. It's this dual action approach that makes this research so groundbreaking.
Yeah.
It's not just about preventing frost, it's about really understanding and manipulating the very process of how ice forms.
Now I see why this is so exciting. This isn't just about like keeping our windshields clear in the morning.
Right.
It's like a whole new way of thinking about frost.
Exactly.
So what other kind of potential applications could this lead to?
Well, think about all the places where frost causes problems. Power lines,
Yeah.
airplanes, even sensitive equipment, like in research or healthcare.
Hmm.
This could be a real game changer in all sorts of industries.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that other materials could be used too, besides Rogo.
Right.
What's the advantage of exploring those?
Well, the researchers focused on GO in this study, but they suggested that other porous materials, especially ones that can absorb water, might offer even better performance.
So this research is really just the beginning.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like opening a door to a whole world of possibilities.
Absolutely. And if we can fine-tune the properties of these materials even further, imagine what we could achieve.
Like what?
Longer frost prevention times, maybe even surfaces that completely repel ice.
It's incredible to think that something as seemingly simple as frost could lead to so much innovation.
It is pretty amazing.
What else did the researchers uncover in this study?
Well, there's one point they raised that I think you'll find particularly interesting.
Okay.
They hinted at the possibility of combining this JAGO technology with existing de-icing methods.
Now that sounds promising. What kind of de-icing methods are we talking about?
Well, they specifically mentioned something called low interfacial toughness coatings, or LIT coatings for short.
LIT coating.
Yeah, and these coatings are designed to basically make ice shed really easily.
Oh, so imagine a system that not only prevents frost from forming in specific areas, but also actively sheds any ice that does accumulate elsewhere.
Exactly.
That's a powerful 1-2 punch against frost.
It is. They even suggested that by combining these approaches, a self-sustaining de-icing system might actually be possible.
Wow, so surfaces that essentially take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Shedding ice and preventing frost without any external intervention.
Right.
That would be revolutionary.
Right.
No more scraping windshields or worrying about icy power lines.
Exactly.
It sounds almost too good to be true.
Well, of course, more research is needed to make these visions a reality.
Right.
But that's what's so exciting about science. It's all about pushing boundaries and exploring new possibilities, even when they seem far-fetched.
This whole deep dive has been an eye-opener.
It has.
We've gone from these tiny water molecules to large-scale applications, and it's clear that this research has huge potential.
It's a fascinating journey.
Yeah.
It's a great example of how understanding fundamental science can lead to innovations that can have a real impact on our lives.
Speaking of impact, this research focused on preventing frost, but I have to ask, this research focused on preventing frost buildup, but what about ice that's already there? Could this AGO technology be used to melt ice too?
That's an interesting thought, and while this specific research didn't explore ice melting directly, it definitely opens up some intriguing possibilities.
I'm all ears. How could that work? Would we just like sprinkle go-go on icy sidewalks and watch it disappear?
It's probably not quite that simple, but remember how GAIO can absorb water and lower its freezing point?
Right.
That same principle could potentially be applied to melting existing ice.
So instead of using like salt, which can damage roads and isn't great for the environment,
Yeah,
we could maybe have a geo-based de-icer.
exactly. It's definitely an area worth exploring.
Yeah.
Imagine incorporating GAIO into a de-icing solution that's both effective and gentler on the environment.
Right.
This research could be the first step towards a whole new way of tackling ice.
It's amazing to think we could go from just dealing with ice to like actually controlling it at a fundamental level.
It is pretty remarkable.
Who knows, maybe someday we'll have a whole arsenal of geo-based tools to combat frost and ice.
It's a future I'm excited to see unfold.
Me too. And it really highlights just how much potential materials science has to solve these everyday problems in ways we never thought possible.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we've done a pretty thorough deep dive into this research today.
Yeah, I think so.
We've covered a lot of ground from those tiny, trapped water molecules all the way to the potential for large-scale, real-world applications.
It has been a pleasure diving into this topic with you. Hopefully it's given our listeners some new insights into the amazing world of materials science and its ability to solve age-old challenges like frost and ice.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe someday soon those frosty mornings will be a thing of the past. Until then, keep those research papers coming, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.